Hi, I'm Rob.
I'm Ashley.
I'm Shannon.
I'm Granny. I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Gene.
Hello everyone, and today I will be demonstrating how to shoot a bow. But before I do that, I would like to go over the equipment used for archery. First of all is the bow. There's many different types of bows, but the most common are the compound and the recurve. This bow is a recurve, and it's a very basic type of bow and is very similar to what would have been the first bows used. It has a nocking point and a basic rest. This here is a compound bow. This bow is a little more complex, and you could basically think of it as the modern technology of a bow. This bow has sights, a rest, a nocking point, and a peephole. To go over the sights, these here are fiber optic sights. Can everyone see this clearly?
Yes.
Fiber optic sights are basically like illuminated or brighter and more vivid. These are often common to hunters because they just give you a brighter focus for when you're shooting, because often deer move in the early morning or evening when it's a little more dark. So in order to use these sights, what you would do is when you were drawn back, you would look through the peephole and line it up with the pin that you're going to be using. Mine is set at 10, 15, and 20 yards. You can set them at different yards depending on what type of shooting you're doing, and you can put as many or as few as you would like. You would then line up the pin with the target. This will hopefully give you a little bit better accurate shot than free shooting. Here we have the nocking points. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
We will go over in a little more depth the nocking points. Draw weight. This draw weight on my bow is 45 pounds. My bow can go from 30 to 45 pound draw weight. In Florida, the legal hunting limit draw weight is 35 pounds. This is a great start for small game such as deer, hog, and turkey. But if you wanted to get into shooting larger game like moose, bear, and elk, you would want to get closer to the 60 and 70 pound draw weight. So that's pretty much the basics of the bow. Now we will go over the arrow. This here is the arrow that I will be shooting. If you can see here, it has a field point tip. This is a little bit of a duller tip, but still could be kind of painful if you were to fall on it or something. This is what I'll be shooting. This here is a razor or a broadhead. These are sharper, and if you can see here, it has 3 different razors. As you shoot this arrow, it comes out as you shoot, making it larger. This here is a quiver, and it is what you use to hold your arrows. There's many different types of quivers, but this one mounts directly to your bow. I'll show you how that's done. In order to mount this to your bow, you would use this little clip here and slide it down into the spot here, like this. This would just keep your bow and quiver with the arrows in it together. I personally don't put mine on my bow because it makes it a little more bulky and awkward. The next thing we will look at is the targets. If you look out here by the hay bale, I have a white target and a deer target. Those are both used for field tip arrows and are great for practicing. If you were wanting to shoot with broadheads, you could turn the white one around to the opposite side and it would have a broadhead arrow target. This is just a little bit softer of a target that you would use when shooting a broadhead, just to give you a feel for what it's going to be like, because broadheads field tips do shoot slightly different, but it's not a big deal, so you could shoot either way. The next thing we'll look at is the release. This release here straps directly onto your hand, and it makes it a little bit easier and less likely to lose. In order to use this target, and in order to use this release, you would hook it on underneath the arrow, below the knocking point, and you would draw back, and then you would release it with this little lever. This is the release that I use. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Yes.
This is just a basic handheld release, and I'll show you how it works. You would hook it under the target like this, draw back, and then release it with this lever. Now this release is a little bit easier to lose, but I started off shooting this and have been comfortable with it and just continue to shoot with it. Those are basically all the essentials needed for shooting archery. I will now go deeper into my demonstration and show you some other things. When you are shooting, there are many things that need to be considered. Most importantly is safety. Safety is the most important aspect of shooting because you always want to be safe. In any sport you are participating in, you always want to think about, is anybody in danger? Am I putting someone in danger, or am I myself in danger? So especially in shooting, things such as bow and arrows and guns, you always want to be aware because you are shooting a weapon. Down where my target is called downrange. You never want to go down there to get your arrow or adjust your target when somebody else is shooting. That would put yourself into danger. You never want to draw back your bow and shoot when there's somebody down there. The other important thing is your stance and your position. How you stand and position yourself. If you do it consistently, it helps you to become more accurate. Using you as an example of a target, I would turn my body this way with the target on the left of me, and I would spread my feet out slightly. I would take my bow and I would draw back. If I was a left-hand shooter, I would position my body this way, holding the bow in my right hand and drawing back. But because I'm right-handed, I stand this way. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just show you how you would shoot a bow. The first thing you would do is knock your arrow. Now how you do that is you would place it on the rest and then clamp it on underneath the two knocking points like that. Now I'm standing in this direction and pointing it this way so that you have a little bit clearer view of what I'm doing, and I'm not putting anything in danger, as that in that direction is all trees. The next thing I would do was I would get in position with my legs slightly apart and my left facing target. I would then hook on my release, I would draw back and shoot. One thing that's very good to do is to take a deep breath. Often a hunter becomes nervous or excited when they are shooting and becomes a little shaky and is not as accurate in their shooting. This is called buck fever. I'm going to go ahead and give you a demonstration of how to shoot a bow. I'll stand in the correct position with my legs slightly apart and my body facing the target. I would clip on my release and I would draw back and shoot. Just like that. So pretty much that's basically how you shoot. And there's some things you always want to remember. You always want to be safe, so I would never go down there and get my arrow without making sure that nobody else was shooting. And I also would never shoot without making sure that the target was clear of people. One thing you want to remember is you never want to dry fire your bow, and I'll demonstrate what that would be. Dry firing my bow would be if I were to clip on the release without an arrow, draw back, and then if I were to release it and shoot it without an arrow being in there, that is called dry firing. You never want to do that because that can cause damage to your bow. Another thing you want to remember is if you're a right-hand shooter, you want to keep your left arm slightly bent. If you extend it all the way, you're more likely to hit yourself with a string. So you want to keep that in mind when you're shooting. So that's basically all the equipment you would need for archery, but you can get as complex as you would like with more equipment, but it's up to you. I pretty much demonstrated my style of shooting, but each archer has their own style of shooting that they adapt to. And lastly, the thing you want to always remember is safety. You never want to put anyone in danger when you are shooting. I thank you all for coming out here today and hope you enjoyed my speech and was able to learn a little bit about the art of shooting archery. And I just thank you for coming out here. I'd like to hear from my audience now. Was everyone able to hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes, we were.
Do y'all have any suggestions on how I could better my speech or connect my ideas better or anything like that? Rob?
No.
I thought you did really well.
I thought it was very good, and I thought you explained it well since I am not an archer.
Yes, I agree with Shannon. There was a lot of facts, and you presented it in a very interesting way.
I thought it was really good.
I thought it was interesting. One thing that you might do is tell the audience as a speaker what your experience is like. I've been shooting for a year, or I've been shooting since I was 10, so that they know where you're coming from.
Well, I thank you all for your feedback, and I will definitely consider it for my next speech.
Oh, we're gonna